So, look, very poor game, very, very poor game. You know what I mean? Not many people expecting the first game of the FIFA World Cup will be this bad. Mexico slightly managed to do enough to get that 3 points over the line. Slightly do enough to get the 3 points. They were poor against a very bad South Africa team. I was expecting a lot from my Bafana brothers on that football pitch. Yeah? I was expecting a lot much more better displays from my CONCACAF rivals, the Mexican players on that pitch. I believe Hugo Brass should be getting a lot of criticism, and he should be the one that should take the most of the blame for the South Africa bad display as well. The setup, the system, where is he going with that three at the back? Was that Hugo Brass was hiding all the time of playing games behind closed door? Of hiding training sessions away from the media? I don't know. I'm looking at the back three, or you could call it a back five with, Modoa, Sibisi, Ocon, and Bokazi. I think he have a fantastic game, one of the best player out of the five at the back for South Africa. He took a very good shot around 45 yards out. But Ryan Williams, that goal that he conceded, it was a Quiñones, the short passing, and the team continuously to pass that ball short out. And South Africa have never looked as if a team know how to play the football out, are looking any real comfortable of playing that football out. Now they're in real problem. Their next game will be against Czechia. They're going to be without two players. One is a starter and one is a game changer off the bench, attacking player. So now you're looking at it where Czechia going to be a different opposition from the Mexican team. Might not have, the likes of quality that the Mexican, can possess on the pitch, but it's going to bring a different challenge. And it's going to be either do or die. You cannot go in that game again and go on to concede 2 more goals and expect to win against South Korea in your last game to try to get one of those best of 8 of third spot. So South Africa is in huge problem. Huge problem. But for Javier Aguirre, that first half was appalling. That first half was a trash. That first half was basura for Mexico. What the hell I was watching? The midfielders. Are those Mexican midfielders? I'm not sure. But as much as the midfielders, the likes of Fidalgo, Liria, and Brian Gutierrez, Brian was the man in that midfield for Mexico. He was that guy. He was that one that making the runs. He was the one that taking the risk. He got moments in the first and second half where he could put the ball in the back of the net before he came off on the pitch. But I'm looking at it, if this is what the Mexican team have to offer to this World Cup, of going forward and try to go beyond the quarterfinals and go into the semifinal, I think there's a big mistake of this expectation around this Mexican team. I was having the most high expectation for this Mexican team, knowing that they will play these games at home and home side in the Azteca. What happened in previous time when they hosted? They dominate the games that they played in the Azteca, the 4 out of 5 in 1986. So I'm expecting history will repeat itself. And it's important as well for them. They did enough to get the 3 points, and that's the most important thing. But you hear the boos, you hear the frustration of the fans, the whistle. The players wasn't good enough. Quiñones, excellent play, drifting off the left-hand side, coming in. I think on numerous occasions, he gave the South African team a lot to think about. Just by coming closer to Raul, getting into the number 10 position, being a bit diverse, he played where he's collecting the ball as well, dropping into the number 9 position and then drifting back into the number 10 in the pockets, being clever. There's no real press. There's no real press on him, so you have time and chance to took so many opportunities towards the goal. And I think as much as it was a poor passing out from the back. I think he did well, to took his opportunity. The keeper should have stopped that ball. The keeper should have stopped that ball. Alvarado, out on that right-hand side, didn't really see much from him. I think that ball that he gave Raul Jimènez, it was such a class of a goal. It was just a class of a pass on the back post for Raul Jimènez. It's a special goal for him. You know what it means for a player to score in the World Cup after a year or so ago, have a nasty head injury. So the return of being the poster boy of this World Cup for Mexico, it shows a lot. The tears of joy, scoring a goal in the Azteca, a historic venue for your beloved national team, that says a lot on a player. But Reyes was more of the most defensive mind fullback out of the two. Gallardo was a player that was going forward. In the first 15 minutes, he was bombing forward. He was going forward as well. But the final third passes, the final third decisions could have been a lot better. But this Mexican team is just the same old, same old. A lot of possession build up in their own defensive third. There's no real threat coming from the midfielder. There's no penetration. There's no real creativity. Yeah, I can't even sit here and remember how many chances did the midfielders created for Raul Jimènez. That ball was created from the right-hand side across, that he shift the ball from his right and to his left, and he whip it in on the back post, and Raul finished that goal. So I just think, Rangel wasn't the tidiest goalkeeper in the game as well. Both goalkeepers were a bit, sloppy, they're collecting the ball and receive it with their hands. But other than that, I think it's a good 3 points. It's a good start. The next game will be against South Korea for Mexico. Food for thoughts, around Javier Aguirre and Rafa Marquez at the helm, and how they're going to approach that game. So let's see, how the games will pan out. But Raul Jimènez, Golazo, Quiñones, Golazo. There's much more, on the South African side of, Hugo Bras. You have a lot of thinking to make as well, knowing that he's going to play Czech Republic in the next game. Went to a back three, was a bit surprised. The substitutions were very appalling as well from Hugo Bras. When I was looking at the game, I was expecting to see a Police, a lot earlier. He came on in the 76 minutes. This first substitution was Talente Mbata, coming on for, I think he took off one of those. I think he took off faster, in the 56 minutes as well. One of the number 9 for a defensive mind player. And then, he brought on a few attacking mind. But I was expecting to see a Police much more earlier in the game. Mofo King, where was he? The game was asking for a creative player in that midfield. The game was asking for a creative midfielder. And Mofo King sat on the bench the entire game. I'm not sure whether he fit or he fully fit, or the coach just didn't trust him in that game to come and do something. You cannot bring on Opolis in the game when the game already dead, 2-0, 2 men down. What is he going to do? What is he going to do during that time? 2 goal up and 2 men down. You have 8 outfield bodies on the pitch against 10. One of your most dynamic winger that can create something, that can create opportunities for his teammates. Someone that will have created a lot in the qualifying stages of the South Africa run through to the World Cup. So let's see if anything will fix going forward for either team. But let's leave it like that. Much love and respect. On your way out, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Peace out, people. Salute.